The night has settled softly around us, wrapping the world in quiet shadows and calm air. If you are here to slow down, to let the noise of the day drift away, then allow me to guide you gently into a peaceful story. My name is Woodrow Wilson, the 28th President of the United States, but tonight I am not here as a leader or a historical figure. Tonight, I speak simply as a man, sharing the memories of my life in a way that helps your mind unwind and your thoughts settle. Think of this moment as sitting beside a warm fire, the flames dancing softly, while I speak in a voice meant to carry you toward rest. That I was born in 1860, in a small Virginia town surrounded by rolling hills and quiet landscapes. In my earliest memories, the world feels peaceful, sunlight slipping through wooden shutters, the scent of blooming wildflowers drifting in through open windows, and the gentle rhythm of my mother's voice as she read to me. It was a turbulent age, one marked by national conflict, but inside that modest home, there was a warmth that made me believe the world held more kindness than chaos. If you imagine a rocking chair on a porch, moving slowly in a mild breeze at sunset, then you understand the calm that shaped my childhood. That I was not a brilliant child, not the sort who astonishes anyone with quick answers or sharp wit. In truth, learning came slowly to me. I would take my time with every book, letting the meaning of each sentence sink in. This slow pace, though frustrating at times, helped me develop a habit of deep thinking. I grew to appreciate ideas the way some appreciate music, listening to every note, feeling every pause. Over the years, this thoughtful nature carried me into academia. I became a scholar, then a professor, and eventually the president of Princeton University. None of this came from ambition. It felt more like a steady unfolding, the natural growth of a seed that simply kept leaning toward the sun. People often wonder how a quiet academic found his way into the realm of politics. The answer, for me, was never about power. It was about a sense of duty, a belief that knowledge should serve the public good. When people placed their trust in me and I found myself stepping into leadership, I accepted that responsibility with a calm, steady resolve. It felt like keeping watch over a lighthouse during a storm. Even when the winds were fierce, the light had to remain steady so others could find their way. My presidency was defined by a world in turmoil. The First World War cast a long shadow across nations, and each day I searched for a path toward peace. The burden was heavy, but so was the hope. My 14 points were not crafted as a political maneuver. They were a vision, my hope that humanity could rise from violence into something more stable, more compassionate. Just as you, in this quiet moment, are releasing tension and letting go of the day's weight, I long for the world to release its suffering and return to a gentler rhythm. Tonight, you do not have to worry about the difficulties of the past or the uncertainties of tomorrow. Let them soften. Let them drift. My voice is here to accompany you, to slow your breathing and calm your thoughts. You don't need to remember any details. You don't need to analyze anything. Simply allow these words to flow around you like a soft current, guiding you toward rest. Take a slow breath in and let it out gently. Feel your shoulders relax, your heartbeat settle, your mind loosen its hold on the day. My story will continue to unfold beside you. My childhood, my years of study, the choices I made, the burdens I carried, the hopes I held onto. I will guide you through each chapter of my life in a way that invites your body and mind to rest deeply. That if you are ready, I will begin the journey with you. Here begins the long, gentle unfolding of the first chapter of my life, told in a soft, unhurried voice that invites your thoughts to slow and settle. As I speak to you now, imagine the world dimming just slightly, as though twilight were settling over a warm and quiet landscape. My memories drift like fireflies in the evening air, faint, warm, and glowing softly, each one shining long enough for you to follow before fading into the peaceful dark. I was born on December 28, 1856, in Staunton, Virginia, a small and quiet town resting among the rolling hills and soft morning mists of the Shenandoah Valley. My earliest memories are not sharp or dramatic. They are gentle impressions, warm feelings, faint images shaped by the soft voices of my parents and the quiet rhythm of rural life. I remember the sunlight that spilled across wooden floors in our home, the slow ticking of clocks, and the steady, reassuring cadence of my father's footsteps. In those early years, the world felt as though it moved with an almost dreamy stillness. My father, Joseph Ruggles Wilson, was a Presbyterian minister, a calm, thoughtful man with a presence that felt like standing near a sturdy oak tree. He rarely raised his voice, but every word he spoke carried a certain gravity, as though carefully polished by contemplation before it reached the air. When he read scripture or discussed philosophy, even as a young boy, I felt something in his voice that made time seem to slow, like a tide pulling gently toward reflection. My mother, Jessie, was a warm, nurturing spirit, gentle hands, soft eyes, and a voice that could ease almost any childhood worry. When I picture her now, I see her sitting near a window with sewing in her lap, golden light settling over her shoulders, shaping a moment that felt peaceful even before I had the words to understand why earliest years unfolded during a time of great national tension, though I was too young to grasp the meaning of war or politics. What I remember instead are small domestic moments: the smell of freshly baked bread, the creak of rocking chairs, the rustle of pages as my parents read aloud. I loved stories, though reading did not come easily to me at first. Letters and words were slow to settle into place in my mind. I often stared at the shapes on the page, willing them to speak, waiting for meaning to bloom. It did, eventually, but only through patience and persistence. I learned to embrace slowness, even then, letting understanding grow at its own pace. This rhythm, the rhythm of gradual comprehension, became one of the defining patterns of my life. When the Civil War began, our household, like many others in the South, found itself surrounded by uncertainty. Soldiers marched through town, supplies grew scarce, and the air seemed heavier with each passing month. But within our home, my parents did their best to maintain a sense of normalcy. My father continued preaching, offering comfort to those who sought answers in faith. My mother kept our family together with warmth and quiet strength. Even as cannons thundered in the distance and tension thickened the air across the country, my childhood memories remain, curiously, wrapped in a sense of refuge. The world outside was turbulent, yet inside our home, there was steady, gentle guidance that I recall evenings when the lamps were lit, casting a golden glow across the parlor walls. My father would read aloud from the classics, Shakespeare, Milton, the ancient historians, his voice rising and falling in a way that lulled me into a deep, contemplative calm. Sometimes I listened intently, other times my mind drifted, floating between wakefulness and dreams. Those moments shaped me more than I realized at the time. They planted seeds of curiosity, of reflection, of a desire to understand humanity not through judgment, but through patient observation. Not all memories were peaceful, of course. The sound of distant conflict sometimes reached our town, and the worry on the adults' faces, subtle but unmistakable, left impressions on me. I remember my mother stepping quickly to the window whenever riders passed, her hands pausing in their tasks just long enough to reveal her concern before she resumed her work with practiced calm. I remember the way neighbors whispered to one another, voices low, sharing news that carried an undercurrent of fear. But even in those moments, I found solace in the quiet routines of daily life. The slow walk to church, the warmth of the hearth in winter, the dust motes dancing in shafts of afternoon light. As I grew older, we moved to Augusta, Georgia, where my father took on a new role leading a congregation. The city was larger than Staunton, more bustling, and yet my world remained focused on small, daily rhythms. I studied at home, guided by my parents, who believed deeply in the value of education, not merely as a path to success, but as a way to shape a thoughtful, grounded soul. My mother taught me writing, arithmetic, and history, while my father introduced me to rhetoric, logic, and the principles of leadership rooted in faith and reason. Our lessons did not feel like rigid instruction. They felt like shared journeys, gentle walks through landscapes of thought and moral understanding. One of my clearest memories from those years is sitting beside my father as he prepared sermons. He would pace slowly across the room, pausing now and then to jot down a phrase or a scripture reference. He thought deeply about every word he offered his congregation, believing that speech carried responsibility and power. Watching him, I learned how ideas could take shape, how they could be molded with care, how they could soothe or strengthen those who listened. Without realizing it, I absorbed his reverence for language, His belief that words were not merely tools, but living forces that could lift people toward understanding. Even as my mind expanded through study and reflection, I struggled with certain subjects. Learning to read fluidly took longer than it did for most children. I felt frustration at times, but my parents never hurried me. They sat beside me, encouraging patience, allowing me to find my own rhythm. Over time, I realized that the slow pace I once saw as a weakness was actually shaping my mind in a unique way. It taught me to look deeply, to examine ideas with care, to sit comfortably with complexity. This slow and careful way of thinking became my constant companion through adolescence and beyond. As the war ended and the country began to rebuild, I watched the world shift with the wide eyes of a boy who did not yet understand politics but could sense the weight of change. I saw freedmen walking the streets for the first time with a sense of tentative hope. I heard neighbors debate the future of the South, some with bitterness, others with cautious optimism. I watched my father, always steady, always thoughtful, help guide his congregation through the difficult aftermath, urging compassion, patience, and moral clarity in a time of confusion. My own world continued to expand gently. I found myself drawn increasingly to the study of law, government, and history. I spent long hours reading about ancient civilizations, Athens, Rome, the empires that rose and fell through the centuries. These stories fascinated me not because of their wars or conquests, but because of the human motivations behind them. I wanted to understand why societies thrive, why they crumble, what principles sustain them. I found myself tracing patterns across eras, seeking the lessons that history could teach those willing to listen. During quiet evenings, I sometimes walked alone through the streets of Augusta, listening to the distant hum of life around me. I watched the gas lamps flicker as dusk deepened, the soft glow painting gentle halos on the cobblestones. I listened to the distant laughter of children, the clatter of carriage wheels, the faint notes of hymns drifting from open windows. These sounds, these moments, settled deeply into my heart. They reminded me that beyond politics and grand ideas, the true fabric of society is woven from simple, everyday moments. Moments filled with warmth, struggle, hope, and quiet perseverance. As I approached adulthood, I became increasingly aware that I was different from many of my peers. I was not the loudest or the most confident. I did not rush headlong into new experiences. Instead, I observed, reflected, learned quietly. While others engaged in energetic debates or lively pursuits, I found myself sitting slightly apart, listening deeply. This quiet nature did not isolate me. It simply shaped the path I would walk. Looking back now, I can see how these early experiences, my slow learning, my sensitive nature, the calm guidance of my parents, the shadow of war, the routines of faith and study, formed the foundation of who I would become. They taught me to value patience over haste, reflection over impulse, reason over noise. They taught me that leadership is not born from ambition, but from steady inner purpose. As you rest now, listening to these memories unfold, allow the gentle rhythm of my story to lull your thoughts. There is no need to hold on to the details. Let them drift through your mind like leaves carried on a quiet stream. The past does not rush. It unfolds softly, at its own pace, just as your breathing becomes slower, deeper, more peaceful. This chapter of my life, my childhood, my early education, the warmth of family, the quiet formation of my inner world, lasts far beyond the words you hear. It is a long, calm river, flowing steadily through years of subtle experiences. And as you drift with it, you may find your own tensions easing, your thoughts softening, your body settling more deeply into rest. Whenever you're ready, I can continue with the next chapter, carrying you gently into my years as a student and young scholar. As I look back on the next stage of my life, I remember a period filled with transformation, curiosity, and the gradual awakening of the ideals that would one day guide my service to the nation. These were the years when I stepped beyond the sheltered world of my childhood and began shaping my own identity, an identity forged through study, personal struggle, and a deep search for purpose. I learned not only from books and professors, but from the quiet moments of doubt, the friendships I formed, and the challenges that forced me to confront who I truly was. That I entered college carrying both excitement and uncertainty. My early education had been irregular because of the times I lived in, but my determination to understand the world around me pushed me forward. I was not, at first, a brilliant student in the traditional sense. Reading came slowly to me, and I often wondered whether I would ever match the intellectual agility of my classmates. Yet, in that very struggle, something essential began to form within me, a persistence that would become one of the defining traits of my character. I spent long nights alone, repeating lines from my textbooks, copying paragraphs by hand, whispering thoughts aloud until meaning finally revealed itself. The process was slow, but every step felt like a victory. During those early academic years, I found myself increasingly drawn to the study of government, leadership, and the complex machinery that held societies together. I read deeply about history, philosophy, and political institutions, and I discovered a quiet thrill in understanding the systems that shaped human life. Even when the world around me seemed confusing or divided, these ideas gave me a sense of direction, as though the answers to many of life's struggles could be uncovered through careful thought and honest inquiry. There were times when financial pressure weighed heavily on me and my family. We lived modestly, and further education was never a guarantee. I often felt the weight of responsibility pressing against my ambitions. But every obstacle pushed me to adapt, to work harder, to seek every opportunity, and to make the most of whatever resources were available. Looking back, I realized that these experiences taught me resilience. They taught me that perseverance is not merely a trait. It is a companion that walks beside those who refuse to surrender their hopes. My professors shaped me in profound ways. Some challenged my ideas with a sharpness that startled me, while others encouraged me with gentle patience. I learned to value debate not as conflict, but as a path toward clarity. Many evenings were spent in quiet conversation with classmates, our voices drifting through dimly lit hallways as we argued over philosophy, democracy, and the possibilities of the future. Those discussions carved lasting impressions into my mind, and they helped me understand that the power of ideas could be just as real and transformative as any physical force. As I matured, I felt an increasingly strong desire to communicate, to express the ideas forming within me, and to understand the thoughts of others. I practiced writing tirelessly, experimenting with structure, tone, and argument. I discovered that words had the power to gather scattered thoughts into purpose, and with every page I wrote, I felt myself growing stronger. At times, the drafts were clumsy or uncertain, and frustration washed over me. But slowly, through practice and reflection, my voice emerged. I began to believe that writing and speaking could one day become the tools through which I might contribute to the world. There were also quiet, personal moments during these years. Walks across campus beneath trees glowing with the soft light of late afternoons, evenings spent alone in my room hearing only the scratch of my pen, and mornings when sunlight through the window made the world feel full of possibilities. These small, almost invisible experiences shaped me just as deeply as my formal studies. They gave me clarity when life seemed overwhelming and reminded me that within every challenge there is always room for growth. Friendships played an important role as well. Some companions pushed me intellectually, while others offered warmth and humor during stressful times. We shared our goals for the future, our worries about the world, and our dreams of what we might become. Their encouragement helped me believe that I could pursue a life of meaning, even if the path ahead remained uncertain. By the time I completed this chapter of my academic journey, I felt transformed. I carried with me not only knowledge, but a stronger sense of identity and purpose. I had discovered the power of persistence, the value of thoughtful inquiry, and the quiet strength that comes from believing in one's ability to grow. These years prepared me for the path I would eventually walk, a path that would lead me through scholarship, leadership, and ultimately into service at the highest level of government. As I moved forward, I did so with a heart full of hope and a mind sharpened by experience. The lessons I learned during these formative years stayed with me for the rest of my life, guiding me through every challenge that lay ahead. And even now, as I reflect on those days, I can still feel the quiet determination that carried me forward, shaping the person and leader I would one day become. As I look back on the next stage of my journey, I remember it as a time when my identity truly began to crystallize. Years in which the foundation of my public life was quietly laid through the slow, deliberate effort of self-discovery. What had begun as curiosity during my early academic years now grew into a deep and abiding conviction that understanding society, understanding government, and understanding human nature were paths that would shape my purpose in this world. I stepped into this chapter carrying the lessons of my youth, the persistence I had forged through difficulty, and a sense that something meaningful was calling me forward. After completing my initial studies, I continued my education with a renewed seriousness. I no longer felt like the uncertain young man struggling to keep pace. Instead, I felt myself awakening to the realization that scholarly work could become not only a profession but a mission. I immersed myself in history, political theory, and the workings of institutions. Countless hours were spent reading by lamplight, tracing the patterns of civilizations and the rise and fall of nations. I was fascinated by the idea that societies evolved through choices, through leadership, through conflict, and through visions of what the world could become. During these years, I also began to observe the world with a more discerning eye. I saw inequality, opportunity, and hardship intertwined in the fabric of everyday life. I listened to the concerns of ordinary people, noticed the ways in which institutions shaped public life, and felt a growing belief that thoughtful leadership had the power to lift a nation or burden it. These observations stirred something within me, something that would later carry me far beyond the walls of any classroom. At the same time, I discovered the joy and challenge of public speaking. Though I had always been drawn to words, speaking them aloud before an audience required a different kind of strength. My voice trembled in the early attempts, but each lecture, each debate, each gathering of students or colleagues strengthened my confidence. I found that when I spoke with conviction, people listened, not because I sought attention, but because the ideas themselves mattered. Over time, the nervousness gave way to clarity. I learned to express complex thoughts with simplicity, to shape arguments with care, and to connect with audiences through sincerity rather than force. These experiences led me toward a life in academia. When I accepted my first position as an instructor, I felt both honored and intimidated. There is a special weight that comes with standing before a classroom, knowing that young minds are looking to you for guidance. I took that responsibility seriously. I prepared each lecture with dedication, revisited historical sources, tested my arguments, and searched for ways to make the material not only informative but meaningful. Teaching did not simply reinforce my understanding of government and political systems. It pushed me to question my own assumptions, to broaden my perspective, and to remain open to new interpretations. My early years as a professor were filled with long days and quiet nights. I graded assignments until my eyes blurred, wrote articles that often took weeks to shape into form, and continued my own studies with relentless focus. Yet I found peace in the work. There was a rhythm to academic life, the steady pulse of the classroom, the thoughtful quiet of the library, the conversations that stretched into evenings as colleagues debated theory, policy, and the responsibilities of leadership. These rhythms made me feel that I had discovered a home in the world of ideas. Still, the path was not easy. My health, always somewhat delicate, posed challenges at times. Fatigue would creep into my days, sometimes forcing me to slow down even when my mind was eager to continue. But each setback taught me patience. I learned to listen to my body, to pace my efforts, and to trust that persistence would steer me through moments of weakness. These lessons would prove essential in the years ahead, as responsibilities continued to grow. Around this time, I also began writing with greater purpose. I wanted not only to teach, but to contribute to the broader conversation about governance, democracy, and the structure of modern society. I wrote essays, drafts, and long reflections on constitutional principles, administrative functions, and the moral demands of public service. Many early manuscripts were imperfect, and I revised them again and again. Yet each revision felt like a step closer to clarity. Writing became a way for me to refine my beliefs and to give shape to ideas that might someday influence others. During these years, my personal life also began to take on new depth. I formed friendships that brightened my days and broadened my understanding of the world. Some friends shared my passion for political thought, while others offered companionship through simple conversations, shared meals, or quiet walks. These moments of connection reminded me that life's meaning is found not only in great ambitions, but in the warmth we share with others at IT. Was during this period that I met the woman who would become my wife. Her intelligence, kindness, and steady presence brought balance to my often intense academic pursuits. She encouraged my work, listened patiently to my evolving ideas, and offered gentle guidance when I doubted myself. Our partnership became a source of strength, grounding me in moments of uncertainty and reminding me that love, too, can be a foundation for purpose. Together, we built a life shaped by mutual support, shared dreams, and the quiet joy of companionship. As the years passed, opportunities expanded. I received invitations to lecture, to publish, and to contribute to conversations about political reform. Each opportunity pushed me further into the public sphere, and though I still saw myself primarily as a scholar, I sensed that my work was leading me toward a greater calling. I felt a responsibility growing within me, a responsibility not only to understand government, but to help improve IT. By the end of this chapter of my life, I had become not only a teacher and a scholar, but a thinker increasingly aware of the challenges and possibilities facing my country. I carried with me a deep belief in fairness, thoughtful leadership, and the potential of democratic institutions when guided by wisdom and integrity. I did not yet know how far this path would take me or how profoundly it would shape the nation's future, but I felt ready to continue forward. As I reflect on these years now, I see them as a time of preparation, quiet, steady, and transformative. They were the years when I learned to trust my voice, to refine my ideas, and to dedicate myself to a life of service through intellect and integrity. Everything that would follow, the struggles, the achievements, the moments of profound responsibility, had its beginnings here, in the slow and steady unfolding of purpose that defined this early chapter of my adult life. As I look back on the next stage of my journey, I remember it as a time when my identity truly began to crystallize. Years in which the foundation of my public life was quietly laid through the slow, deliberate effort of self-discovery. What had begun as curiosity during my early academic years now grew into a deep and abiding conviction that understanding society, understanding government, and understanding human nature were paths that would shape my purpose in this world. I stepped into this chapter carrying the lessons of my youth, the persistence I had forged through difficulty, and a sense that something meaningful was calling me forward. After completing my initial studies, I continued my education with a renewed seriousness. I no longer felt like the uncertain young man struggling to keep pace. Instead, I felt myself awakening to the realization that scholarly work could become not only a profession but a mission. I immersed myself in history, political theory, and the workings of institutions. Countless hours were spent reading by lamplight, tracing the patterns of civilizations and the rise and fall of nations. I was fascinated by the idea that societies evolved through choices, through leadership, through conflict, and through visions of what the world could become. During these years, I also began to observe the world with a more discerning eye. I saw inequality, opportunity, and hardship intertwined in the fabric of everyday life. I listened to the concerns of ordinary people, noticed the ways in which institutions shaped public life, and felt a growing belief that thoughtful leadership had the power to lift a nation or burden it. These observations stirred something within me, something that would later carry me far beyond the walls of any classroom. At the same time, I discovered the joy and challenge of public speaking. Though I had always been drawn to words, speaking them aloud before an audience required a different kind of strength. My voice trembled in the early attempts, but each lecture, each debate, each gathering of students or colleagues strengthened my confidence. I found that when I spoke with conviction, people listened, not because I sought attention, but because the ideas themselves mattered. Over time, the nervousness gave way to clarity. I learned to express complex thoughts with simplicity, to shape arguments with care, and to connect with audiences through sincerity rather than force. These experiences led me toward a life in academia. When I accepted my first position as an instructor, I felt both honored and intimidated. There is a special weight that comes with standing before a classroom, knowing that young minds are looking to you for guidance. I took that responsibility seriously. I prepared each lecture with dedication, revisited historical sources, tested my arguments, and searched for ways to make the material not only informative but meaningful. Teaching did not simply reinforce my understanding of government and political systems. It pushed me to question my own assumptions, to broaden my perspective, and to remain open to new interpretations. My early years as a professor were filled with long days and quiet nights. I graded assignments until my eyes blurred, wrote articles that often took weeks to shape into form, and continued my own studies with relentless focus. Yet I found peace in the work. There was a rhythm to academic life. The steady pulse of the classroom, the thoughtful quiet of the library, the conversations that stretched into evenings as colleagues debated theory, policy, and the responsibilities of leadership. These rhythms made me feel that I had discovered a home in the world of ideas. Still, the path was not easy. My health, always somewhat delicate, posed challenges at times. Fatigue would creep into my days, sometimes forcing me to slow down even when my mind was eager to continue. But each setback taught me patience. I learned to listen to my body, to pace my efforts, and to trust that persistence would steer me through moments of weakness. These lessons would prove essential in the years ahead, as responsibilities continued to grow. Around this time, I also began writing with greater purpose. I wanted not only to teach, but to contribute to the broader conversation about governance, democracy, and the structure of modern society. I wrote essays, drafts, and long reflections on constitutional principles, administrative functions, and the moral demands of public service. Many early manuscripts were imperfect, and I revised them again and again. Yet each revision felt like a step closer to clarity. Writing became a way for me to refine my beliefs and to give shape to ideas that might someday influence others. During these years, my personal life also began to take on new depth. I formed friendships that brightened my days and broadened my understanding of the world. Some friends shared my passion for political thought, while others offered companionship through simple conversations, shared meals, or quiet walks. These moments of connection reminded me that life's meaning is found not only in great ambitions, but in the warmth we share with others. It was during this period that I met the woman who would become my wife. Her intelligence, kindness, and steady presence brought balance to my often intense academic pursuits. She encouraged my work, listened patiently to my evolving ideas, and offered gentle guidance when I doubted myself. Our partnership became a source of strength, grounding me in moments of uncertainty and reminding me that love, too, can be a foundation for purpose. Together, we built a life shaped by mutual support, shared dreams, and the quiet joy of companionship. As the years passed, opportunities expanded. I received invitations to lecture, to publish, and to contribute to conversations about political reform. Each opportunity pushed me further into the public sphere, and though I still saw myself primarily as a scholar, I sensed that my work was leading me toward a greater calling. I felt a responsibility growing within me, a responsibility not only to understand government, but to help improve it. By the end of this chapter of my life, I had become not only a teacher and a scholar, but a thinker increasingly aware of the challenges and possibilities facing my country. I carried with me a deep belief in fairness, thoughtful leadership, and the potential of democratic institutions when guided by wisdom and integrity. I did not yet know how far this path would take me or how profoundly it would shape the nation's future, but I felt ready to continue forward. As I reflect on these years now, I see them as a time of preparation, quiet, steady, and transformative. They were the years when I learned to trust my voice, to refine my ideas, and to dedicate myself to a life of service through intellect and integrity. Everything that would follow, the struggles, the achievements, the moments of profound responsibility, had its beginnings here, in the slow and steady unfolding of purpose that defined this early chapter of my adult life. As I moved further into my adult life, I began to feel the first real weight of responsibility, not as an abstract idea, but as a presence that rested upon my shoulders, quiet yet undeniable. Life had been a series of steps up to this point. Childhood marked by care and reflection, education guided by patience and persistence, the early years of teaching and scholarship. And now, I was beginning to sense that my work could influence not only my own life, but the lives of others, the functioning of communities, and perhaps even the direction of the country itself. The awareness was sobering, but it also brought a quiet excitement, a feeling that I was stepping onto a path with meaning. The years at Princeton University had been transformative. I had grown into a position where my voice carried weight, where my opinions could shape young minds and contribute to the intellectual life of the institution. I remember long hours in my study, the lamplight spilling over books and papers, the soft scratch of pen on paper filling the room. I spent days revisiting history, examining the foundations of government, and reflecting on the principles that guide human society. Each essay, each lecture, was a chance to clarify my thoughts and to understand the moral and practical responsibilities of leadership. These were not tasks to be completed quickly. They required patience, discipline, and a careful attention to detail, qualities I had nurtured since my earliest years. During this period, I also found myself increasingly aware of the world beyond academia. Society was changing rapidly. Industrial growth, urbanization, and political reform movements were reshaping the nation. Inequalities persisted, labor disputes simmered, and the challenges of governance became more apparent with each passing day. I listened to the voices of those affected by these changes, from city workers to farmers, and I felt a growing sense that knowledge alone was not enough. Understanding must be combined with action, reason tempered with empathy, and scholarship paired with a readiness to serve. These thoughts began to shape the core of my approach to leadership. Even as I continued my scholarly pursuits, that I also began to engage more deeply with public policy debates. Although I was not yet an elected official, I wrote and spoke extensively about reform, governance, and the need for integrity in public life. I debated colleagues, corresponded with thinkers and politicians, and carefully observed the functioning of government at local and national levels. Each interaction was a lesson, each argument a chance to refine not only my ideas but my approach to persuasion, negotiation, and the exercise of responsibility. I realized that leadership required more than intelligence. It required patience, empathy, and the ability to weigh competing interests with a clear and steady hand. At the same time, my personal life offered both comfort and guidance. The companionship of my wife became a cornerstone of my existence. She provided balance to my intense focus on study and work, grounding me in the reality of daily life. Together, we navigated the uncertainties of early adulthood, supporting one another through both challenges and small triumphs. In quiet evenings, we would walk or sit together, reflecting on ideas, sharing dreams, and offering reassurance. These moments reminded me that life's significance is not only in ambition or achievement, but also in the connections we nurture, the empathy we offer, and the love we give and receive. As the years progressed, I found myself drawn increasingly into public service. When the opportunity to enter politics emerged, it did not come as a sudden ambition, but rather as a quiet sense of duty. I realized that the knowledge I had accumulated, the patience I had cultivated, and the understanding of society I had developed could serve a purpose beyond academia. My first forays into governance taught me that public life was both demanding and rewarding. Each decision affected real people, each policy carried consequences, and each act of leadership required careful thought, courage, and integrity. Early in my political career, I encountered challenges that tested both my patience and my principles. I faced opposition from those who doubted my experience, skepticism from those who questioned my approach, and the constant tension between competing interests. Yet I discovered that steadfastness, reasoned argument, and a commitment to fairness could overcome many obstacles. I learned that compromise did not necessarily mean surrendering principle. Rather, it could be a method of finding solutions that preserved integrity while serving the greater good. Each trial shaped me, molding a more resilient and thoughtful leader. Throughout this period, I also continued to study and write. My work on the structure of government, constitutional law, and political theory deepened, offering frameworks through which I could understand practical challenges. I found that ideas were most powerful when applied thoughtfully to real-world situations. Books and lectures provided guidance, but lived experience revealed the complexities and nuances that theory alone could not convey. The balance between study and action became a central principle in my life, a steady rhythm of learning, reflection, and implementation. Even in the midst of work and public engagement, I maintained moments of quiet reflection. Early mornings often found me walking through the campus or sitting by a window, observing the light and the movement of life outside. I would consider the responsibilities before me, weigh potential actions, and remind myself that clarity emerges most readily when the mind is calm. These practices of reflection, cultivated over years, became essential to navigating the demands of both scholarship and governance. As I look back on this chapter, I see it as a bridge between preparation and the responsibilities that would define the next stage of my life. The lessons of perseverance, observation, and empathy deepened. My commitment to understanding and serving others solidified. I had grown beyond the quiet student and scholar into a person capable of contributing to public life with purpose, thoughtfulness, and integrity. Though the challenges ahead would test me in ways I could not yet imagine, I carried forward the tools I had honed during these years: patience, reason, empathy, and an unwavering sense of duty. And so, as you listen and allow the rhythm of this story to settle, imagine the quiet halls of learning, the soft lamplight, the thoughtful discussions with peers, and the serene moments of reflection. Let the pace of my life during these years mirror the pace of your breathing, slow, steady, and gentle. Let the story unfold around you like a calm stream, each thought drifting naturally, each memory gently lighting the way toward understanding and rest. As I entered the next stage of my life, the world seemed to expand before me, filled with both opportunity and responsibility. My years in academia had provided a strong foundation, yet the sense of duty that had quietly grown within me now called me to a broader stage. I was no longer solely a student of history and government. I was beginning to see myself as someone who might actively shape the society around me. The thought was at once humbling and invigorating. I understood that the journey ahead would not be without difficulty, but I also felt a quiet confidence rooted in the years of study, reflection, and careful observation that had brought me to this point that I began to immerse myself in the practical aspects of governance and policy, seeking to bridge the gap between theory and action. My early political experiences were modest, yet each encounter taught me something essential about human nature, leadership, and the subtle mechanics of public affairs. I listened attentively to the concerns of those I met, whether they were colleagues, constituents, or strangers with stories to tell. These interactions reminded me that politics was not merely an arena of debate. It was a realm in which decisions had tangible consequences for people's lives, and in which empathy and understanding were as crucial as intellect. During this period, I continued to refine my voice as a communicator. Public speaking, writing, and teaching were no longer separate endeavors. They merged into a single purpose: to convey ideas clearly, thoughtfully, and with integrity. Each lecture I delivered, each essay I published, became an opportunity to clarify my own thinking and to connect with others who shared a desire for constructive dialogue. I discovered that the power of persuasion did not come from force or charisma alone, but from careful reasoning, patience, and the ability to see issues from multiple perspectives. There were moments of doubt, of course. The path forward was rarely smooth. Opposition, misunderstanding, and the slow pace of change often tested my resolve. Yet each challenge reinforced the importance of perseverance. I learned to approach difficulties not as threats, but as opportunities for growth and reflection. Over time, I developed a sense of equanimity, a calmness in the face of uncertainty that allowed me to navigate complex situations without losing sight of principle. This inner steadiness became a hallmark of my approach to leadership, as essential as knowledge or skilled at the same time. My personal life remained a source of grounding and inspiration. My marriage, marked by companionship, mutual respect, and shared purpose, provided a steady center amidst the demands of public life. The quiet moments we shared, walks, conversations, and evenings spent in reflection, offered balance and reassurance. Through her support and encouragement, I felt empowered to pursue my ambitions while remaining mindful of the human dimensions of life and work. These years reinforced my belief that personal integrity, empathy, and careful attention to relationships are inseparable from the pursuit of public service. As my involvement in public affairs deepened, I began to see the profound interconnectedness of local, state, and national issues. Policies crafted in distant offices often had immediate effects on communities, and decisions made in the abstract resonated in concrete ways across families, businesses, and neighborhoods. I sought to understand these links, to anticipate consequences, and to approach decisions with both careful analysis and moral responsibility. This attentiveness to the real-world implications of policy became a guiding principle in my work, shaping the way I thought about leadership and the role of government. That I also continued to explore the historical foundations of governance, reflecting on how past societies succeeded or failed, and considering the lessons that could be applied to contemporary challenges. History, I realized, was more than a record of events. It was a map of human choices, a testament to the consequences of wisdom and folly, foresight and negligence. By studying the past, I sought guidance for the present, hoping that understanding could illuminate the path toward more just, effective, and compassionate leadership. During these years, my sense of purpose strengthened. I realized that knowledge alone was insufficient. It had to be combined with action, guided by principle and tempered by humility. Leadership, I came to understand, is not a matter of personal ambition but of responsibility, a duty to serve with wisdom, fairness, and patience. Each decision, each interaction, became an exercise in applying these values, and over time, I began to sense a growing readiness for greater challenges, a preparation for the opportunities and trials that lay ahead. Even amidst these demands, I retained a love for quiet reflection and contemplation. Long walks, evenings by the lamp, and moments of solitary thought allowed me to consider both immediate concerns and larger questions of purpose. These practices grounded me, fostering clarity, calm, and resilience. They reminded me that, no matter the pressures of public life, maintaining inner balance and thoughtful awareness was essential to effective service. By the end of this chapter, I had transformed once more. The young scholar of earlier years had grown into a thoughtful public figure, grounded in principle, guided by reflection, and strengthened by experience. I was ready to embrace the responsibilities that awaited, to step into roles that demanded not only intellect but empathy, courage, and a steadfast commitment to the public good. The journey was far from complete, yet the foundation laid during these years gave me confidence that I could meet the challenges ahead with integrity and purpose. As you listen and let these words settle, imagine the quiet intensity of those years, the study, the reflection, the conversations, the careful consideration of complex problems. Feel the gentle rhythm of thought, of preparation, and of growing responsibility, each moment building upon the last. Allow the story to guide you softly, as the pace of life unfolds in calm, deliberate motion, and as the lessons of these years echo in the quiet spaces of both memory and imagination. As I stepped further into the responsibilities of public life, I began to sense the weight of expectation not as an abstract concept, but as a presence that quietly pressed upon my every decision. These years marked a turning point, when theory and practice began to converge, and the lessons learned in the quiet halls of academia met the real demands of leadership. I understood that the choices I would make, the principles I would uphold, and the integrity I would maintain were no longer matters of personal reflection alone. They had the power to affect the lives of countless others. Early in this period, I found myself navigating the complex landscape of local and national politics. Each interaction, each conversation with constituents, colleagues, and mentors revealed the delicate balance required to govern with fairness and wisdom. I listened carefully, observing the hopes, fears, and concerns of those whose lives would be touched by decisions often made far from their immediate view. Empathy, I realized, was not a luxury but a necessity. To lead effectively, one must first understand deeply the circumstances of others and the real consequences of policy and action at the same time. I continued to refine the skills that had carried me through years of scholarship and teaching. Writing and speaking, once exercises in self-expression, now became tools for persuasion and public service. Every speech I delivered, every article I published, was an opportunity to clarify ideas, to bridge divides, and to inspire thoughtful reflection among those who listened. I learned to approach communication not as performance, but as a responsibility. The words we choose, the tone we adopt, and the clarity we strive for can guide, comfort, or even transform the minds and hearts of others. Challenges were constant. Opposition emerged from unexpected quarters, and the complexity of political life often revealed how difficult it is to uphold principles while negotiating the practicalities of governance. Yet I discovered that steady reflection, careful reasoning, and a commitment to integrity provided a compass through uncertainty. Each setback became a lesson in patience, each debate an opportunity to refine my understanding of justice and responsibility. Over time, these experiences shaped a temperament suited to the demands of leadership, resilient, discerning, and measured. During these years, I also deepened my understanding of the structures of government, the intricate checks and balances that guide national affairs, and the moral obligations that accompany authority. History and theory had taught me much, but it was experience, observation of human behavior, participation in deliberation, and the quiet moments of reflection that revealed the nuances essential to effective governance. I learned to see issues from multiple perspectives, to weigh competing interests, and to anticipate the consequences of action with both prudence and compassion. Even amidst political engagement, my personal life remained a source of grounding and insight. My marriage continued to provide stability and encouragement, offering a space in which reflection and discourse could occur free from the pressures of public judgment. Walks, conversations, and shared quiet moments nurtured resilience and reminded me of the human dimension underlying every policy, every law, and every decision. These experiences reinforced my belief that leadership is not only a matter of intellect or ambition, but of empathy, patience, and moral commitment. As the responsibilities grew, I became increasingly aware of the broader currents shaping the nation and the world. Social reform, economic change, and international developments reminded me that the work of governance is never isolated. It is a dialogue with history, culture, and the aspirations of countless individuals. Every choice carries weight, and every action ripples outward in ways that are both visible and subtle. I began to cultivate an approach to leadership that combined careful analysis with moral reflection, recognizing that wisdom often lies in balancing competing demands while remaining true to principle. Reflection became a daily practice. In moments of solitude, I revisited my earliest lessons, recalling the persistence, patience, and critical thinking that had guided me through youth and early adulthood. I considered not only the immediate consequences of action, but also the long-term effects on institutions, communities, and society as a whole. These meditations nurtured clarity and calm, enabling me to face challenges without haste or anxiety, and to navigate the complexities of governance with deliberate attention. By the end of this first period of deeper public involvement, I had grown into a more capable and self-aware leader. I had learned that true authority is not rooted in title or position, but in the capacity to act with integrity, to understand the people one serves, and to make decisions that honor both principle and the realities of the world. The foundation laid during these months would sustain me in the trials and triumphs to come, preparing me to embrace opportunities of increasing significance while remaining anchored in reflection, empathy, and purpose. As the responsibilities of leadership continued to unfold before me, I found that each day brought new lessons and unexpected challenges. The theory I had studied, the history I had absorbed, and the principles I had long held were now being tested in real time, within the intricate and often unpredictable world of politics. I learned quickly that the exercise of influence required more than knowledge. It required patience, tact, and a careful attention to the human dimensions of every decision. During this period, I increasingly engaged with broader social issues. I observed the tensions between progress and tradition, the struggles of the working class, and the demands for reform that echoed across towns and cities. These observations shaped my understanding of public service. Leadership was not merely about holding office or enacting policy, but about deeply understanding the needs and aspirations of the people and striving to respond to them thoughtfully and ethically. It became clear to me that genuine progress required both vision and humility, a recognition that no single person holds all the answers, yet each can contribute meaningfully to the common good. That I also began to navigate the complexities of alliances and relationships within the political sphere. Negotiation, compromise, and communication were no longer optional skills. They were essential for achieving practical outcomes while maintaining integrity. I learned to listen attentively, to identify shared goals even among those with differing perspectives, and to foster cooperation without sacrificing principle. These experiences taught me that leadership is often a delicate balance between firmness and flexibility, Between conviction and adaptability at the same time, my personal life continued to provide balance and perspective. Moments of quiet reflection, walks with my spouse, and discussions at home offered respite from the intensity of public life. I found that these simple, daily practices nurtured resilience and clarity, allowing me to approach challenges with both energy and equanimity. They reminded me that, no matter the scale of one's responsibilities, grounding oneself in human connection and thoughtful reflection is essential. As I engaged more deeply with legislative and administrative responsibilities, I began to see the broader patterns and connections that shape society. Policies made in one arena affected countless others, and decisions taken with care in small matters often had large, unforeseen consequences. This awareness instilled in me a careful and deliberate approach to leadership, to consider both immediate and long-term effects, to weigh competing interests thoughtfully, and to act with both foresight and compassion. I realized that the impact of each choice extends far beyond the moment, shaping lives, institutions, and communities in ways that may not be immediately visible. Throughout this period, I also remained committed to study and reflection. I revisited historical events, analyzed constitutional principles, and examined the successes and failures of past leaders. This ongoing engagement with the lessons of history reinforced my understanding that knowledge must be paired with practical application, and that leadership requires constant learning, humility, and the courage to act decisively when necessary. Each moment of reflection deepened my insight into the human condition and the responsibilities inherent in positions of authority. Even amid the challenges and complexities of public service, I found joy in small victories and subtle progress. A thoughtful resolution, a compromise reached without sacrificing principle, a moment when understanding bridged division, all became reminders of the potential for meaningful impact. These experiences reinforced my belief that true leadership is measured not by titles or accolades, but by the ability to make deliberate, ethical, and considered decisions that serve the broader community. By the end of this phase, I had grown increasingly confident in my ability to navigate the intertwined realms of policy, public opinion, and ethical responsibility. I understood that leadership is not a solitary endeavor. It is a continuous dialogue with history, colleagues, and the people one serves. The skills, patience, and moral grounding developed during these years would sustain me in future challenges, preparing me to confront both opportunities and difficulties with a clear mind, a compassionate heart, and an unwavering commitment to principle. Through these experiences, I learned that governance is a continuous exercise in judgment, empathy, and thoughtful action. Each day offered lessons in patience, negotiation, and foresight. Each encounter reminded me of the human stakes behind every decision. And through it all, I began to understand that the essence of leadership lies not merely in authority, but in the capacity to serve wisely, justly, and with humility, always attentive to the lives and needs of those entrusted to one's care. As I progressed through this stage of public life, I began to see the intricate interplay between local concerns and national priorities more clearly. Decisions made in distant offices, in chambers and committees, reverberated in towns, cities, and the lives of everyday people. I realized that leadership demanded not only knowledge of policy, but an acute awareness of its tangible effects, and a commitment to ensure that those effects were just and equitable. Every choice, no matter how minor it seemed, had the potential to shape the lives of others in ways both immediate and long-lasting. During this period, I also confronted the complex realities of political alliances and rivalries. I learned that maintaining integrity while negotiating with differing factions required patience, discernment, and a clear sense of purpose. Compromise did not mean abandoning principle. Rather, it was the art of finding common ground without sacrificing the core values that guide action. Each encounter reinforced the importance of listening deeply, of understanding motives, and of seeking solutions that balanced competing interests thoughtfully and ethically. Simultaneously, I devoted time to the intellectual and moral dimensions of leadership. I revisited historical case studies, analyzed policy outcomes, and reflected on the successes and failures of those who had come before. These studies reminded me that wisdom is cumulative, that learning from past errors is as vital as celebrating past achievements. I realized that effective leadership is an ongoing process of reflection, adaptation, and application, grounded in both principle and practical understanding. The challenges of public service were accompanied by moments of profound insight and personal growth. I began to recognize patterns in social change, the emergence of public sentiment, and the subtle ways in which governance could influence the fabric of society. By observing carefully, considering deeply, and acting deliberately, I sought to navigate these complexities with prudence and foresight. I learned that patience and careful observation often yield more lasting results than immediate action driven by impulse or ambition. At the same time, I continued to cultivate the personal qualities that sustain long-term leadership. Discipline, humility, and self-reflection became daily practices. I found that keeping a steady mind and a compassionate heart was essential for decision-making that affected lives and communities. I also nurtured the quiet joys and stabilizing influences of family life, recognizing that the support and perspective of loved ones provide a grounding that cannot be underestimated in the pursuit of public service. As my understanding of governance deepened, I increasingly appreciated the interplay between ideals and practical realities. The pursuit of reform, the management of public opinion, and the navigation of institutional structures all required a careful balance between aspiration and implementation. I learned to temper ambition with realism, to align moral purpose with practical strategy, and to act with both courage and caution. This balance became a defining feature of my approach, shaping my decisions and guiding my conduct in increasingly complex situations. By the conclusion of this period, I had gained not only experience, but a more profound sense of responsibility. I understood that leadership is not simply the exercise of authority, but a commitment to serve with integrity, to consider the consequences of every action, and to strive for fairness and justice. Each day reinforced the importance of patience, empathy, and thoughtful deliberation. These lessons, embedded in practice and reflection, laid the foundation for the challenges and opportunities that awaited me in the years to come. I also realized that public service is a continuous journey, one that demands lifelong learning, constant reflection, and the courage to confront uncertainty with clarity and conviction. By embracing these principles, I hope to contribute meaningfully to the governance of my country, to act with wisdom and fairness, and to leave a legacy of careful, principled leadership that would endure beyond my tenure. Through these experiences, I developed a deeper understanding of the weight and purpose of responsibility. Each choice mattered, each decision carried consequences, and each interaction required careful consideration. I learned to navigate the complexities of public life with steadiness, foresight, and moral clarity, recognizing that the true measure of leadership lies not in power alone, but in the ability to act wisely, justly, and with humility in service of the greater good. As I reached the final phase of this chapter in my life, I began to reflect on the cumulative lessons that had shaped my journey in public service. The experiences of negotiation, reflection, and decision-making had not only tested my abilities, but had refined them, instilling in me a deeper understanding of the responsibilities that accompany leadership. I realized that the work of governance is continuous, each day presenting opportunities to act with principle, foresight, and empathy. During this period, I devoted particular attention to understanding the human consequences of policy. It became increasingly clear that abstract ideas and legislative measures, when applied, affect the daily lives of individuals in profound ways. Each law passed, each administrative action taken, carries with it the potential for both benefit and harm. Recognizing this, I strove to approach my duties with the utmost care, seeking to ensure that decisions were informed by reason, guided by justice, and tempered by compassion. That I also deepened my engagement with the broader social and economic forces that shape the nation. Industrialization, urbanization, and the growing demands of the working class required a thoughtful and responsive approach. I sought to understand the needs of communities, the aspirations of citizens, and the challenges of an evolving society. This period taught me that effective leadership requires more than vision. It requires active listening, careful observation, and a willingness to adapt while remaining anchored to core principles. In navigating these complex dynamics, I became increasingly aware of the importance of collaboration. No leader operates in isolation. I learned to build alliances, to negotiate thoughtfully, and to foster dialogue even among those with differing perspectives. Each relationship became an opportunity to learn, to find common ground, and to promote solutions that could be both practical and principled. These experiences reinforced my belief that leadership is as much about understanding people as it is about understanding policy. At the same time, I never neglected the personal practices that sustain long-term resilience. Daily reflection, thoughtful reading, and time spent with family and close friends provided balance, perspective, and a reminder of the human stakes behind every public decision. These quiet moments nurtured patience, strengthened my resolve, and reminded me of the ethical and moral foundations necessary for thoughtful governance. As the responsibilities of public life grew, so did my understanding of their broader implications. I saw that each decision, no matter how small, contributes to the shaping of communities, institutions, and ultimately the character of the nation. This awareness encouraged me to approach every task with deliberation and care, recognizing that the measure of leadership lies not merely in achieving objectives, but in doing so with integrity and a steady commitment to the public good. By the end of this chapter, I had reached a stage of increased maturity and confidence. I understood that leadership is not simply about action, but about responsibility, foresight, and ethical engagement. The lessons learned, the importance of patience, reflection, empathy, and principled compromise, had become ingrained in my approach to public service. I felt prepared to confront future challenges, guided by experience, moral clarity, and a commitment to act in the best interest of those I served. Through these experiences, I also came to understand that public service is a lifelong journey. The interplay between principle and practicality, vision and reality, requires continuous reflection and thoughtful action. Leadership is not static. It demands adaptation, learning, and courage. By embracing these truths, I sought to cultivate a style of governance that was deliberate, compassionate, and effective, always attentive to the consequences of my decisions and the well-being of the people I serve. As this segment of my life drew to a close, I felt a profound sense of readiness. The foundations laid in these years, reflection, understanding, empathy, and careful judgment, prepared me for the broader responsibilities yet to come. I recognized that the true measure of leadership is not found in accolades or titles, but in the consistent application of knowledge, integrity, and compassion to the challenges and opportunities that life presents. As I moved into the second section of this chapter, I found myself increasingly focused on the practical dimensions of governance and the nuances of public administration. Theory and principle had provided a foundation, but real progress required careful attention to detail, sustained effort, and a willingness to engage directly with the mechanisms of government. I came to understand that policy is only as effective as the implementation that brings it to life, and that thoughtful planning and precise execution are indispensable components of leadership. During this period, I also confronted the ethical dilemmas that accompany decision-making at a high level. Every choice involved trade-offs, and every action had the potential to affect the lives of many. I discovered that integrity was not merely a guiding principle, but a necessary compass, helping me navigate the uncertainties and competing interests that define public service. I learned that even in situations of ambiguity, remaining true to core values provided clarity and direction. Community engagement became a central part of my work. I spent time listening to citizens, understanding their concerns, and seeking insight into their lived experiences. I realized that the policies we create must resonate with the realities of everyday life, and that the most enduring solutions are those that reflect the needs and aspirations of the people. Each conversation, each interaction, reinforced the importance of empathy, patience, and careful listening in shaping sound decisions. At the same time, I became increasingly aware of the broader social, economic, and political forces that influence governance. Industrial expansion, urban growth, and evolving societal expectations required both adaptability and foresight. I observed how interconnected systems, commerce, education, labor, and civic institutions shaped the environment in which leadership operates. This awareness encouraged me to approach challenges holistically, considering both immediate outcomes and long-term consequences, striving for policies that were both just and sustainable. Navigating the political landscape demanded a delicate balance between firmness and flexibility. I learned to negotiate without compromising essential principles, to seek collaboration while respecting differences, and to exercise judgment that accounted for both practical needs and ethical obligations. Leadership, I realized, is as much about temperament and discernment as it is about knowledge and skill. Patience, diplomacy, and the ability to read subtle cues became invaluable tools in managing complex situations. Throughout this period, I maintained my commitment to personal reflection and intellectual growth. Reading, writing, and thoughtful dialogue provided opportunities to refine my understanding of governance and to clarify my own reasoning. These practices reinforced the importance of continuous learning, reminding me that leadership is a journey that requires constant evaluation, humility, and self-awareness. Even as responsibilities grew, these quiet moments offered clarity and perspective, helping me to navigate challenges with steadiness and insight. By the end of this section, I had gained a deeper appreciation for the interconnectedness of decision-making and consequence. I understood that effective leadership depends on careful judgment, ethical reflection, and the ability to act decisively in service of the common good. Each decision, each initiative, each policy had a ripple effect, influencing not only immediate outcomes but the broader arc of society. This realization shaped my approach to leadership, reinforcing the need for foresight, prudence, and unwavering commitment to principle. As I reflected on these experiences, I recognized that true leadership involves both humility and courage. Humility to acknowledge the limits of one's knowledge and to seek input from others, and courage to make difficult decisions when necessary, even in the face of uncertainty or opposition. Through this balance, I aimed to cultivate a leadership style that was thoughtful, ethical, and effective, capable of responding to both the challenges and opportunities that each new day presented. As I embarked upon the next stage of my life, I became increasingly aware that the responsibilities I faced were expanding in both scope and complexity. The lessons of previous years, careful deliberation, ethical reflection, and patient observation, had prepared me for greater challenges, yet each new experience revealed layers of intricacy I had not fully anticipated. I realized that leadership is an ongoing journey, requiring constant adaptation, vigilance, and a commitment to both principle and practicality. During this period, my attention turned toward the interplay between domestic concerns and emerging international issues. The world was changing rapidly, and it became clear that the decisions we made within our own borders could have implications far beyond them. I studied foreign policy with renewed intensity, understanding that knowledge, discernment, and foresight were essential tools for anyone entrusted with shaping the nation's path. I began to appreciate that the art of governance was as much about anticipating future challenges as it was about addressing immediate needs. At the same time, I continued to engage with the communities whose voices guided my understanding of public service. Listening remained an indispensable skill. Hearing the hopes, fears, and aspirations of citizens provided the insight necessary to make informed and compassionate decisions. I learned that empathy was not merely a personal virtue, but a critical component of effective leadership. Decisions grounded in understanding the human consequences of action carried far greater weight and legitimacy. The intricacies of political alliances also demanded my attention. I discovered that relationships with colleagues, both allies and rivals, required careful cultivation. Trust, respect, and transparent communication were vital, and each interaction offered lessons in negotiation, compromise, and the art of finding common ground. I realized that leadership was not exercised in isolation, but through collaboration, dialogue, and the careful balancing of competing interests. Amid these professional responsibilities, I remained committed to the personal disciplines that sustain clarity of thought and moral grounding. Reflection, reading, and time spent with family and close friends provided stability and perspective. These practices nurtured patience, reinforced my ethical foundations, and reminded me that the human element must always remain at the center of decision-making. The moments of quiet contemplation became as important as the bustling work of governance itself. As my understanding deepened, I also became increasingly aware of the need to balance idealism with pragmatism. Vision without practical application risks disappointment. Action without ethical consideration risks harm. I sought to cultivate a leadership approach that integrated both: principled decision-making guided by ethical reflection, coupled with careful planning and execution. This balance became the hallmark of my growing maturity as a leader, shaping the way I approached each challenge with both foresight and caution. By the close of this first section of the chapter, I felt a profound sense of preparedness. The lessons accumulated from previous experiences, the insights gained through observation and reflection, and the personal qualities nurtured over time provided a foundation for the more demanding responsibilities that lay ahead. I understood that leadership is not a destination, but a continuous process of learning, adapting, and striving to serve with wisdom, justice, and compassion. Through this period, I began to internalize a deeper understanding of the essence of responsibility. Each decision, each negotiation, and each policy consideration carried with it the weight of consequence. I recognize that effective leadership requires the ability to act decisively while remaining attuned to the needs and welfare of those affected. It requires patience, judgment, and the unwavering application of principle even in the face of complexity or opposition. These insights would guide me as I moved further into the challenges of public service, prepared to face them with clarity, integrity, and a steadfast commitment to the greater good. As I progressed into the third section of this chapter, I became increasingly attuned to the broader implications of leadership and the ripple effects of decisions at every level. I understood that the policies enacted and the strategies pursued were not isolated actions. They reverberated across communities, institutions, and even generations. This awareness reinforced the weight of responsibility that accompanies public service and deepened my commitment to deliberate, thoughtful decision-making. During this time, I focused particularly on the relationship between innovation and tradition. While it is vital to respect established practices and historical precedents, I learned that progress often requires courage to challenge the status quo and introduce new approaches. Balancing respect for tradition with a vision for improvement became a guiding principle in my work. I recognize that meaningful change is most successful when it honors the past while addressing contemporary needs and future possibilities. That I also devoted attention to the cultivation of moral and intellectual clarity. I engaged in extensive reading, reflection, and discussion, seeking to refine my understanding of governance, justice, and human nature. These practices allowed me to examine my assumptions, question biases, and strengthen the ethical foundation upon which decisions are made. I came to see that intellectual rigor and moral clarity are inseparable in effective leadership. Collaboration continued to play a central role in my work. I reached out to colleagues, experts, and citizens alike, understanding that leadership requires the integration of diverse perspectives. Through these engagements, I learned the value of dialogue, negotiation, and the thoughtful weighing of competing priorities. Effective policy and governance emerge not from isolated authority, but from the synthesis of insight, experience, and wisdom across multiple voices. At the same time, I became increasingly sensitive to the personal dimensions of leadership. The pressures of public life can weigh heavily on the mind and spirit, and I realized that maintaining personal well-being, cultivating patience, and seeking counsel from trusted friends and family were essential practices. These sources of support nurtured resilience, grounded judgment, and reinforced the moral and emotional strength necessary for sustained service. This period also offered lessons in foresight and anticipation. I observed how decisions in one area, economic policy, education, labor relations, or foreign affairs, could influence other domains, sometimes in unexpected ways. I learned to consider both immediate effects and long-term consequences, understanding that responsible leadership requires a balance between short-term needs and enduring goals. Strategic thinking, careful observation, and a commitment to ethical principles became indispensable tools in navigating complexity. By the end of this section, I had gained a profound appreciation for the interconnectedness of leadership, ethics, and society. I realized that every choice carries weight, every action has impact, and every decision is an opportunity to serve with wisdom and integrity. These insights reinforced my dedication to act thoughtfully, to prioritize justice and fairness, and to embrace the responsibility of leadership not merely as a role, but as a lifelong commitment to the public good. Through reflection and experience, I recognized that true leadership is continuous, adaptive, and guided by both moral clarity and practical understanding. It requires patience, discernment, and the courage to face uncertainty with conviction. As I prepared to move forward, I carried with me the lessons of this chapter. That principled action, informed judgment, and compassionate insight form the foundation upon which enduring and meaningful leadership is built. As I entered the fourth section of this chapter, I found myself reflecting deeply on the cumulative impact of my experiences and the evolving responsibilities that accompanied my position. Leadership, I realized, is an ongoing dialogue between intention and outcome, requiring not only foresight but also humility to recognize that even the most carefully considered actions can produce unforeseen consequences. I learned that adaptability and the capacity to respond thoughtfully to unexpected developments are as essential as vision and principle. During this period, I devoted considerable attention to understanding the interconnectedness of domestic and international affairs. The world was increasingly interdependent, and decisions made within the United States resonated beyond our borders. I began to appreciate the subtle ways in which diplomacy, economic policy, and social initiatives influence each other, and how the choices of one administration can set the stage for both immediate and long-term outcomes. This awareness reinforced the importance of deliberate, informed decision-making. I also spent much time reflecting on the human dimensions of leadership. Each policy, each law, each administrative action affects individuals in profound ways. I found that grounding decisions in empathy and understanding is crucial. By engaging directly with citizens, advisors, and communities, I sought to ensure that the choices I made were informed by the lived experiences of those impacted. Listening became not just a duty but a guiding principle, shaping a more responsive and responsible approach to governance. Throughout this phase, I continued to cultivate patience and resilience. Public service often entails pressure, uncertainty, and moments of conflict. I found that sustained reflection, intellectual engagement, and the counsel of trusted friends and family helped me maintain balance and perspective. These practices strengthened my ability to navigate challenges with composure, to weigh competing interests thoughtfully, and to act with integrity even under pressure. That I also became increasingly attentive to the broader societal and economic trends shaping the nation. Industrial growth, urbanization, and evolving social expectations required careful analysis and thoughtful policy responses. I recognize that effective leadership entails anticipating future needs, understanding systemic interactions, and considering both immediate effects and long-term consequences. Planning, prudence, and ethical reasoning became guiding principles in my approach to each issue. Collaboration and communication remained central to my work. I engaged with colleagues across political divides, sought the counsel of experts, and listened closely to the concerns of citizens. These interactions reinforced my understanding that leadership is relational, not solitary. Wisdom emerges from dialogue, careful consideration, and the synthesis of multiple perspectives, and effective governance relies on fostering trust, respect, and transparency in every exchange. By the end of this section, I had gained a more nuanced understanding of the balance required in leadership between action and reflection, principle and pragmatism, ambition and restraint. I recognized that true leadership involves navigating complexity with humility, courage, and ethical consistency. Each decision, each engagement, each initiative carries weight, and the responsibility to act wisely and justly is constant and enduring. As I concluded this portion of my journey, I felt a renewed commitment to the values that had guided me thus far: thoughtful deliberation, empathy, integrity, and a dedication to the public good. I understood that the work of leadership is never finished, that it requires continuous learning, reflection, and adaptation. Through these experiences, I became more prepared to face the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead, guided by principle, insight, and a steadfast commitment to serve. As I entered the 8th chapter of my journey, I became acutely aware of the evolving challenges and responsibilities that lay before me. Leadership, I realized, is a path that continuously tests one's judgment, patience, and moral compass. Each day presented opportunities to learn, adapt, and refine the principles guiding my decisions. I understood that my choices would not only influence immediate outcomes, but also shape the broader course of history. During this period, I focused on understanding the delicate balance between domestic priorities and the growing importance of international affairs. The global stage was increasingly interconnected, and I recognized that policies enacted at home could have far-reaching consequences abroad. Diplomacy, trade, and foreign relations became subjects of careful study, and I sought to comprehend the intricate ways in which domestic decisions reverberated in the wider world. At the same time, I continued to value the lessons learned from community engagement and personal interaction. Listening remained a cornerstone of effective leadership, allowing me to grasp the nuances of public sentiment and the needs of citizens. These insights were critical, for they ensured that policies were not abstract ideals, but practical solutions grounded in reality and informed by those directly affected. Ethics and integrity guided my approach to every challenge. I discovered that the weight of responsibility demands unwavering commitment to moral principles, even when circumstances were complicated or opposition was strong. I sought to maintain a steady course, one informed by careful deliberation and a desire to act justly. Reflection, humility, and ethical rigor became essential tools for navigating the complex landscape of governance. That I also devoted attention to the structural and systemic aspects of administration. Understanding how institutions function, how decisions cascade through layers of government, and how policy implementation affects outcomes was vital. I learned to approach governance with both strategic insight and attention to detail, recognizing that effective leadership requires a comprehensive grasp of both vision and execution. Collaboration and counsel were indispensable during this period. I engaged with advisors, colleagues, and experts across various fields, appreciating the value of diverse perspectives. Wisdom, I found, emerges not from solitary authority but from dialogue, shared insight, and careful deliberation. Every exchange, every discussion, contributed to a more informed and measured approach to decision-making. Throughout this chapter, I became increasingly mindful of the interplay between ambition and restraint. The desire to effect meaningful change must be tempered by patience and a respect for process. I learned that sustainable progress arises from thoughtful planning, ethical reasoning, and the steady application of principle over time. Leadership, I realized, is as much about persistence and discipline as it is about vision and innovation. By the end of this section, I felt a strengthened sense of purpose and readiness for the responsibilities ahead. The lessons accumulated from past experiences, combined with ongoing reflection and study, equipped me to navigate complex challenges with insight and ethical clarity. I understood that leadership is a continuous journey, one requiring resilience, judgment, and unwavering commitment to the public good. As I began the second section of the 8th chapter, I found myself increasingly focused on the practical application of leadership principles and the ways in which policy decisions ripple through society. I realized that even the most well-intentioned initiatives require careful planning, attention to detail, and ongoing adjustment to meet the evolving needs of the public. Leadership, I understood, is as much about execution as it is about vision. During this period, I devoted considerable time to understanding the interplay between economic development and social responsibility. Industrial growth, labor relations, and urban expansion presented complex challenges that demanded thoughtful solutions. I sought to strike a balance between fostering innovation and ensuring fairness, recognizing that sustainable progress requires attention to both opportunity and equity. The responsibility to guide economic and social change ethically weighed heavily, but it also inspired diligence and creative problem-solving. I also deepened my engagement with civic and community concerns. Listening to diverse perspectives, engaging directly with citizens, and observing the impact of policies on everyday life became central to my approach. I found that understanding the lived experiences of individuals provided invaluable insight into the potential benefits and unintended consequences of governance. Each interaction, each dialogue, reinforced the importance of empathy and careful consideration in shaping sound public policy. Ethics and integrity continued to guide my decisions. I encountered situations that demanded difficult choices, where competing interests and moral dilemmas required careful judgment. I learned that true leadership depends not only on knowledge and skill, but also on the courage to act in accordance with principle, even when doing so is challenging. Reflection, humility, and a commitment to justice became indispensable companions in the exercise of authority. that I also spent time studying the mechanisms of government and administration in depth. Understanding how decisions cascade through institutions, how regulations affect implementation, and how different departments interact was crucial. I developed a greater appreciation for the complexity of governance and the need for coordination, foresight, and meticulous attention to procedural detail. Effective leadership, I realized, demands both strategic perspective and operational competence. Collaboration remained a cornerstone of my work. I engaged with colleagues, advisors, and experts from diverse fields, recognizing that no leader acts in isolation. The exchange of ideas, the negotiation of priorities, and the integration of multiple perspectives all contribute to more thoughtful and effective decision-making. I came to value dialogue and consultation not only as tools for governance, but as principles that reflect respect for collective wisdom. Finally, I became increasingly aware of the importance of adaptability. Circumstances can change rapidly, crises emerge unexpectedly, and the consequences of decisions may unfold in unpredictable ways. I learned to remain flexible, to adjust plans as new information emerged, and to embrace uncertainty as a natural aspect of leadership. This adaptability, paired with ethical reflection and strategic foresight, strengthened my capacity to serve effectively and responsibly. By the end of this section, I felt a heightened sense of responsibility and preparedness. The lessons learned from past experience, combined with ongoing observation, study, and reflection, reinforced my commitment to principled leadership. I understood that effective governance requires constant vigilance, thoughtful engagement, and the willingness to act decisively yet ethically, guided by a dedication to the public good. As I moved into the third section of the 8th chapter, I found myself increasingly focused on the long-term implications of leadership and the importance of foresight. Every decision, I realized, was a thread in the larger fabric of governance, influencing not only immediate outcomes, but also the direction of society for years to come. This awareness strengthened my commitment to careful deliberation, thoughtful planning, and ethical decision-making. During this period, I devoted considerable attention to education and social reform. I recognized that the foundation of a prosperous and just society lies in the opportunities afforded to its citizens. Policies that promote learning, critical thinking, and civic engagement are essential for nurturing informed and responsible communities. I engaged deeply with educators, policymakers, and community leaders to understand the challenges and potential solutions, aiming to develop initiatives that would have meaningful and lasting impact. That I also continued to reflect on the personal qualities necessary for effective leadership. Patience, resilience, and humility proved indispensable as I navigated complex situations. I learned that maintaining a sense of perspective, even amid intense pressures, is essential for making sound judgments. By balancing ambition with prudence and decisiveness with reflection, I sought to cultivate a leadership style that was both principled and practical. Community engagement remained central to my work. I found that direct interaction with citizens, listening to their concerns, and observing the real-world effects of policy provided invaluable insight. Each conversation deepened my understanding of the diverse needs and aspirations of the people I served. I realized that empathy, attentiveness, and a willingness to adjust plans in response to feedback are key to fostering trust and implementing policies that are both fair and effective. Economic and industrial developments also demanded careful consideration. I studied labor conditions, business growth, and technological innovation, understanding that leadership involves balancing economic expansion with social responsibility. Striving for fairness and equity alongside efficiency and progress became a guiding principle, reinforcing my commitment to ethical and sustainable governance. Collaboration, consultation, and communication continued to define my approach. Engaging with colleagues across political, professional, and social spheres allowed me to integrate diverse perspectives into thoughtful decision-making. I learned that true leadership relies on listening, synthesizing information, and facilitating dialogue, ensuring that policies are informed, practical, and responsive to the public interest. Finally, I reflected on the importance of adaptability and foresight. Circumstances can shift unexpectedly, and the outcomes of decisions are rarely linear or entirely predictable. By cultivating flexibility, attentiveness, and a willingness to revise plans when necessary, I strengthened my ability to respond effectively to challenges while staying true to ethical principles and long-term goals. That be why the end of this section, I felt an enhanced sense of purpose and readiness to confront the responsibilities ahead. The lessons of careful planning, ethical reflection, community engagement, and strategic foresight reinforced my dedication to leadership grounded in principle, insight, and service to the greater good. I understood that effective governance is a continuous journey, requiring resilience, prudence, and unwavering commitment. As I entered the fourth section of the 8th chapter, I found myself reflecting on the cumulative lessons of my experiences and the increasing complexity of the challenges I faced. Leadership, I realized, is an evolving practice that requires continuous learning, adaptation, and reflection. Each decision, no matter how small, carries consequences that extend far beyond the immediate moment. During this period, I focused particularly on fostering collaboration and consensus. I understood that effective governance depends on the ability to unite diverse perspectives, balancing competing priorities while seeking solutions that serve the common good. Engaging with advisors, colleagues, and citizens in open dialogue allowed me to refine policies, anticipate potential obstacles, and cultivate trust in the processes of decision-making. That I also devoted attention to the ethical dimensions of leadership. Every choice demanded careful consideration of fairness, justice, and the long-term impact on communities. I sought to act with integrity, ensuring that even difficult or unpopular decisions were guided by principle. Reflection became a daily habit, a tool to examine my own assumptions and to measure the alignment of my actions with the values I held dear. Understanding the broader societal context was equally vital. I studied economic trends, social dynamics, and international developments, recognizing that governance operates within a complex web of interdependent factors. The challenges of industrialization, labor relations, and social reform required policies that were not only effective but also equitable. Striving to balance progress with responsibility, I approached each decision with both care and foresight. Community engagement remained at the heart of my approach. I found that listening attentively to the concerns of citizens, observing the practical effects of initiatives, and responding to feedback were essential for building policies that were both fair and effective. Empathy, patience, and responsiveness strengthened not only governance, but also public confidence and cooperation. Collaboration and consultation continued to guide my work. By integrating the insights of experts, colleagues, and community leaders, I could anticipate challenges, adjust strategies, and enhance the effectiveness of decisions. Leadership, I realized, is not solitary. It thrives in the exchange of ideas, the synthesis of perspectives, and the thoughtful weighing of options. Finally, I reflected on the necessity of adaptability and resilience. Circumstances change unexpectedly, crises arise, and outcomes often differ from intentions. Remaining flexible, maintaining ethical clarity, and exercising judgment in the face of uncertainty allowed me to navigate complex situations while remaining true to principles and long-term objectives. That be why the end of this section, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and preparedness. The experiences, reflections, and lessons accumulated over time reinforced my commitment to principled leadership, thoughtful engagement, and service to the greater good. I understood that the work of governance is continuous, requiring vigilance, insight, and unwavering dedication to the well-being of the community and nation. As I entered the 9th chapter, I became deeply aware of the evolving challenges of leadership during times of rapid change. The responsibilities of guiding a nation weighed heavily, and I recognized that every choice carried consequences far beyond what could be immediately observed. Leadership, I understood, required both vision and adaptability, foresight and ethical commitment. During this period, I focused on understanding the broader societal currents that shaped the nation. Industrial growth, urban expansion, and emerging social movements created a complex landscape in which decisions had to balance progress with justice. I spent countless hours analyzing data, consulting with experts, and observing communities, striving to comprehend the intricate ways policies impacted real lives. That I also reflected on the importance of communication and transparency. A leader must convey decisions clearly, explain reasoning, and remain open to dialogue. By engaging with the public, advisors, and fellow leaders, I sought to foster trust, collaboration, and understanding. These interactions reinforced the notion that leadership is not exercised in isolation, but through connection, dialogue, and shared responsibility. Ethics and integrity guided my actions during this time. I encountered difficult dilemmas where competing interests demanded careful judgment. I learned that acting with fairness, honesty, and accountability was essential not only to maintain public confidence, but also to ensure that policies served the common good. Reflection and self-examination became daily practices, helping me navigate moral complexities with clarity and resolve. That I devoted attention to international affairs as well. The global environment was increasingly interdependent, and I recognized that domestic decisions often had international implications. Diplomacy, trade, and strategic partnerships required thoughtful engagement, understanding that the United States' role on the world stage depended on both prudence and vision. Balancing domestic priorities with foreign obligations became a continual exercise in judgment and foresight. Community engagement remained a cornerstone of effective leadership. Listening to the concerns of citizens, observing the outcomes of policies, and responding to feedback provided critical insight. Empathy, attentiveness, and responsiveness allowed me to implement initiatives that were equitable and effective, fostering both trust and cooperation. Finally, I reflected on the personal qualities necessary to navigate this complex chapter. Patience, resilience, humility, and the willingness to learn from both successes and setbacks were indispensable. Leadership demanded the ability to remain steady amid uncertainty, to make informed decisions under pressure, and to act with ethical clarity despite the challenges that arose. To be why the end of this section, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and preparedness. The lessons learned, combined with reflection and study, strengthened my commitment to principled leadership, thoughtful engagement, and service to the greater good. I understood that leadership is a continuous journey, one that requires vigilance, insight, and dedication to the welfare of both citizens and the nation as a whole. As I moved into the second section of the 9th chapter, I found myself increasingly focused on the delicate balance between domestic priorities and international responsibilities. The interconnected nature of the modern world meant that decisions made at home often reverberated far beyond our borders, influencing diplomatic relationships, trade, and global perceptions of the nation. I realized that leadership requires constant awareness of both immediate and long-term consequences. During this period, I devoted much attention to social reform and public welfare. Industrialization had brought significant economic growth, but also new challenges, including labor unrest, inequality, and urban hardships. I sought to understand the perspectives of workers, business leaders, and community organizers, striving to develop policies that could harmonize progress with fairness. The responsibility to ensure that societal advancement benefited all citizens weighed heavily, yet inspired thoughtful and ethical problem-solving. Communication and transparency remained central to my approach. I recognized that clear explanation of policy decisions, active listening, and open dialogue were essential for building trust and cooperation. Engaging with citizens and advisors alike, I sought to create an environment in which feedback was valued and concerns were addressed with care. This approach reinforced my belief that leadership is not exercised in isolation, but through connection, empathy, and shared understanding. Ethics and moral clarity continued to guide my choices. Complex situations often presented competing interests, requiring careful judgment and discernment. I understood that the measure of leadership lies not only in effectiveness, but in the consistent application of principle. Reflection and self-assessment became daily practices, helping me navigate difficult decisions while maintaining fairness and integrity. That I also devoted attention to economic and industrial developments. Understanding the implications of technological innovation, labor relations, and market trends was critical. I sought to promote policies that fostered growth while protecting workers' rights and ensuring social equity. Balancing efficiency, innovation, and justice became a guiding framework for responsible leadership. Collaboration with colleagues and experts remained indispensable. By integrating diverse viewpoints, anticipating challenges, and refining strategies, I could implement initiatives more effectively. I recognized that informed decision-making requires consultation, careful deliberation, and a willingness to incorporate insights from multiple perspectives. Finally, adaptability and resilience proved crucial. Unexpected challenges arose, circumstances shifted, and the consequences of decisions often unfolded unpredictably. By maintaining flexibility, ethical focus, and strategic foresight, I strengthened my ability to lead responsibly while navigating complex and evolving circumstances. To be why the end of this section, I felt more prepared, reflective, and committed than ever. The lessons of balancing domestic and international priorities, fostering social fairness, engaging with communities, and leading with integrity reinforced my dedication to principled leadership. I understood that the journey of governance requires continuous vigilance, thoughtful engagement, and unwavering commitment to the public good. As I entered the fourth section of the ninth chapter, I found myself reflecting on the culmination of the challenges and experiences I had faced throughout this period. Leadership, I realized, is not only about making decisions, but also about understanding the deeper impact of those decisions on the nation, its people, and the broader world. Every choice carries weight, and the responsibility to act with integrity is ever present. During this time, I concentrated on fostering unity and reconciliation across political, social, and economic divides. I recognized that progress requires dialogue, compromise, and the ability to understand perspectives different from one's own. By listening carefully to advisors, colleagues, and citizens, I sought to bridge gaps, build trust, and create policies that would be both effective and equitable. Ethics remained a guiding principle. I faced complex dilemmas where the right path was not always clear, but I understood that adherence to fairness, honesty, and accountability was essential. Daily reflection and thoughtful deliberation allowed me to navigate these challenges with clarity, ensuring that my actions were consistent with both principle and responsibility. That I also devoted attention to the international dimension of governance. Global events, diplomatic relations, and foreign policy increasingly influenced domestic stability and growth. Recognizing the interconnected nature of the world, I sought to make decisions that balanced national interests with global responsibilities, striving to promote peace, cooperation, and mutual understanding. Community engagement continued to be central to effective leadership. Listening to citizens, observing the outcomes of initiatives, and responding to feedback provided critical insights. Empathy, attentiveness, and responsiveness were essential to creating initiatives that met the needs of diverse communities while fostering trust and cooperation. Economic and industrial considerations required careful attention. Technological advances, labor dynamics, and market trends all influenced the direction of policy. I sought to promote sustainable growth while protecting the rights and well-being of workers, ensuring that progress benefited society as a whole. Balancing innovation, efficiency, and social responsibility became a guiding framework. Collaboration and consultation remained indispensable. By integrating diverse perspectives, anticipating challenges, and refining strategies, I was able to implement initiatives effectively. I understood that leadership is strengthened through dialogue, the sharing of ideas, and the thoughtful consideration of multiple viewpoints. Finally, adaptability and resilience proved critical. Circumstances often shifted unexpectedly, crises emerged, and outcomes were uncertain. Maintaining flexibility, ethical clarity, and long-term vision enabled me to navigate complex situations responsibly, while remaining committed to the public good. By the end of this section, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and preparedness. The lessons learned from fostering unity, ethical leadership, foresight, community engagement, and strategic collaboration reinforced my dedication to principled governance. I understood that leading a nation is a continuous journey, requiring vigilance, reflection, and unwavering commitment to the welfare of citizens and the nation. As I entered the third section of the ninth chapter, I became increasingly aware of the profound responsibilities inherent in leadership during times of transformation. The nation was evolving rapidly, and I recognized that my decisions had far-reaching consequences for both present and future generations. Leadership, I realized, required a careful balance of courage, wisdom, and ethical reflection. During this period, I devoted significant attention to domestic reforms aimed at promoting equity and social justice. Industrialization had created tremendous economic opportunity, but it had also led to disparities and social challenges. I listened intently to the concerns of workers, community leaders, and citizens, seeking to develop policies that encouraged fairness while fostering innovation and growth. The weight of ensuring that societal progress benefited all citizens motivated careful consideration and deliberate action that I also reflected deeply on the importance of vision and foresight. Anticipating the long-term effects of policy decisions and considering the broader implications of actions taken today became central to my approach. I sought to cultivate a perspective that balanced immediate needs with future opportunities, understanding that effective leadership requires planning not only for the present, but for the generations to come. Engagement with the public remained a cornerstone of my work. Listening, observing, and responding to the needs of communities provided crucial insight into the real-world impact of policies. I learned that empathy and attentiveness are essential to crafting initiatives that are both effective and just. Building trust and encouraging cooperation required patience, open dialogue, and a genuine commitment to understanding diverse perspectives. Ethical principles continued to guide my actions. Situations often presented conflicting interests, requiring careful judgment and moral clarity. I sought to ensure that all decisions, even when difficult, were aligned with the values of fairness, accountability, and integrity. Reflection and self-assessment were daily practices, helping me navigate complex scenarios with thoughtfulness and resolve that I devoted further attention to the economic and industrial landscape. Balancing growth, innovation, and social responsibility required careful evaluation and ongoing adaptation. Policies needed to encourage progress while safeguarding equity, demonstrating that ethical governance and economic development are not mutually exclusive. Integrating these considerations became a guiding framework for responsible leadership. Collaboration and consultation remained indispensable. Engaging with experts, advisors, and community stakeholders allowed me to anticipate challenges, refine strategies, and implement initiatives more effectively. Leadership, I realized, is strengthened by dialogue, the synthesis of perspectives, and thoughtful deliberation. Finally, I reflected on resilience and adaptability. Crises emerged unexpectedly, circumstances shifted, and outcomes were often uncertain. By maintaining flexibility, ethical clarity, and long-term vision, I strengthened my ability to lead responsibly. Even in the face of unpredictable developments that be why the end of this section, I felt a renewed sense of dedication, insight, and readiness. The lessons of social reform, ethical leadership, foresight, community engagement, and strategic collaboration reinforced my commitment to principled governance. I understood that leading a nation is a continuous journey, demanding vigilance, reflection, and unwavering service to the public good. As I entered the 10th chapter, I found myself reflecting on the culmination of my experiences, decisions, and the lessons learned throughout my years of leadership. Looking back, I could see how each moment, each choice, and each challenge had shaped not only my understanding of governance, but also my sense of responsibility toward the nation and its people. Leadership is a journey, and its impact reaches far beyond the immediate outcomes of policies or actions. During this period, I focused on consolidating progress and ensuring that the initiatives and reforms I had worked to implement were sustainable. Governance, I realized, is not only about responding to immediate issues, but also about laying the foundation for future stability, growth, and equity. Policies must endure the test of time, benefiting not just the current generation, but those yet to come. I devoted considerable attention to fostering ethical leadership and accountability. The challenges I faced demanded that I act with integrity, fairness, and transparency. Every decision carried weight, and I strove to ensure that each was guided by principle and aimed at the common good. Daily reflection and consultation with trusted advisors helped me maintain clarity and consistency in my actions. Engaging with communities remained central to effective governance. Listening to citizens, observing the impacts of policies, and responding to feedback were essential to creating initiatives that were both equitable and effective. Empathy, attentiveness, and open dialogue strengthened trust and collaboration, and reminded me that leadership is as much about serving others as it is about guiding. Economic and social considerations continued to demand careful attention. I worked to balance industrial growth, labor rights, and social reform, recognizing that progress must be inclusive to be sustainable. Understanding the interconnectedness of economic policies, social welfare, and public trust was crucial in crafting responsible and forward-thinking strategies. International affairs also required careful deliberation. The global environment was complex and interdependent, and I sought to make decisions that promoted both national interests and international cooperation. Diplomacy, strategic partnerships, and awareness of global trends became integral to ensuring that the nation could navigate external challenges while maintaining stability at home. Collaboration and consultation with experts, colleagues, and community leaders remained indispensable. By integrating diverse perspectives, anticipating challenges, and refining strategies, I could strengthen the effectiveness of initiatives and ensure that policies were grounded in both practical insight and ethical consideration. Resilience and adaptability continued to be essential qualities. Unexpected crises, evolving circumstances, and uncertain outcomes required flexibility and a steady commitment to principle. Leadership demanded the ability to respond thoughtfully under pressure, while remaining focused on long-term goals and the welfare of the people. By the end of this chapter, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment, tempered with humility. The lessons learned from decades of leadership reinforced my belief in principled governance, thoughtful engagement, and the importance of serving the public good. I understood that leading a nation is a continuous journey, one that requires vigilance, reflection, and unwavering dedication to the well-being of citizens and the future of the country. Looking back, I saw that every challenge, every decision, and every act of service had contributed to a legacy built on integrity, empathy, and commitment. The journey of leadership is never truly complete, but the pursuit of the common good, guided by principle and informed by experience, remains the enduring purpose of those entrusted with guiding a nation.